Hare Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopna Samakul Radha Kun Gopam Ki Jai, Pradama Dhamma Ki Jai, Antur Dhamma Ki Jai, Nabhipi Dhamma Ki Jai, Jata Fur Dhamma Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Yangamaya Ki Jai, Gandamaya Ki Jai, Samvita Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Hare Rama. Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama. Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama. Gita class. Our introduction prayer, page 1. Omagana Karmadasya Yana Jana Salakya Shakshur Lumitam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tarati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnam Cha Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragaduna Navitam Tasajevam Savetam Sadutam Prarijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkaskarvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapa Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Indasvan Vispare Krispa Banu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Pancha Kapakarumpascha Vipa Sindhu Vaya Sevascha Patitanam Bhavatmayo Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaitagara Shri Vasti Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are on chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute. Starting at verse 24 today, we'll do 11 verses, translation, Sanskrit and translation purport. That way we hear the whole Bhagavad Gita in 3 months' time. Paruda Hasham Cha Mukyama Vidi Parta Puraspatim Sinanena Mahamskandara Sarasamasmi Sagaraha. Translation of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati, the Lord of devotion. Of generals, I am Skanda, the Lord of war, and the bodies of water, I am the ocean. Text 25. Mahashinan Varga Aham Giram Asmi Ikam Asharam Yagyanam Japa Yasnapsmi Savatranam Himalaya. Translation of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names Japa, and of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Text 26. Ashvataha sarva vishanam, devashanam shanagata, gandharvana chitrataha, siddhanam kapilo munahi. Translation. Of all trees, I am the holy fig tree, and among sages and demigods, I am Narada. Of the singers of the gods, Gandharvas, I am the Chitrarata, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Text 27. Uchehesha spasam aspanam, vidimam atrovavam, harivatam jagachatredam, naranam chanaradipam. Translation. Of horses known to me to be Uchayas Rava, who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants I am Airavata, and among the men I am Monarch. Text 28. Ayudanam aham radram, ehunanam asmi kamadittipu, Rajanas Jasmi Kandaraka, Sarpanam Asmi Vasuki. Translation. Of weapons I am the thunderbolt, among cows I am the Surabi, givers of abundant milk. Of procreators I am Kandaka, the god of love, and of serpents I am Vasuki, the chief. Text 29. Anantashasmi nagana, varuna yadasamaham, Vikram aryam chasmi, yamam samyamatam aham. Translation. Of the celestial naga, snakes, I am Ananta. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varya. Of departed ancestors, I am Ayama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. Text 30. Prahladas chasmi gayatnam, kala kalyatamaham, mriganam cha mrigadijaham, vainajas cha pakshishnam. Translation. Among the deity demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among the subduers I am Time, among the beasts I am the lion, among the birds I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. Text 31. Pavana Pavatam Asmi, Rama Shastra Ritam Aham, Jasanam Maprasa Chasmi, Shratasma Asmi Janali. Translation. Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wielders I have weapons I am Rama, of fishes I am the shark, and of flowing rivers I am the Ganges. Text 32. Sarvanam adhiranascha, madhya chaivam arjuna, adhyana vidya vidyana, vada pravadatam aham. Translation. Of all the creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all the sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among the logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Text 33. Aksharanam akarosmi, tvavanda samasi chasyasya, aham vivakshasya kalo, of letters, I am the letter A, and among the compounds, I am the dual word. I am the inexhaustible time, and of all creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Text 34. Mitriya Sarvahasya Chaya Abudascha Bhavesyatam Kirti
Vachanarina
Shrivatchanadiyam Smriti Vidavishakshama. I am all devouring death, and I am the generator of all things yet to be. Among women I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. Bodhitai ki jai. Our final text for this evening, text 35.
Samtata Samnam Gayatri Chandasamaham Masanam Murgashisham
Rijunam Kashumakara. Of hymns, I am the breath sung to the Lord Indra in a poetry. I am the Gayatri verse sung daily by the Brahmanas. Of months I am November and December, and of seasons I am flower-bearing spring. Turning to text 24. Text 24, translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Of priests, Arjuna, no need to be the chief. Brahaspati, Lord of devotion. Of generals, I am Skanda, Lord of war, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of heavenly planets and is known as the King of Heavens. The planet in which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brahaspati is Indra's priest, and since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brahaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda, the son of Parvati, the Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Text 25. Of the great sages, I am Rigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several sons of the propagation of various kinds of species. The most powerful of his sons is Bhrigu, who is also the greatest sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, the Omkara, represents the supreme. Of all the sacrifices, the chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the world is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in the previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Text 26. Of all trees, I am the holy fig tree, and amongst sages and demigods, I am Narada. Of the singers of gods, Gandharvas, I am the Chitrapta, and among perfected beings, I am Sage Kapila. Purport. The fig tree, Ashvatha, is one of the most beautiful and highest trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Among the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is a representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chitrata. Amongst the perpetually living entities, Kapila is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. Text 27. Of horses, know me to be Uchayhisrava, who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants, I am Arivata, and among the men, I am Monarch. Report. The devotee, demigods, and the demons, Asuras, once took a sea journey. On this journey, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchayhisrava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representations of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is represented Krishna. Krishna is the maintainer of the universe. And kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of the kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Maharaj Pariksit, and Lord Rama were highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, when the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed, and is now finally abolished, it's to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Text 28. Of weapons I am the thunderbolt. Among cows I am Sarabi, givers of abundant milk. Of proprietors I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of serpents I am Vasuki, the chief. Report. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time. They give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in the material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called Sarabi. It's stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the Sarabi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna, but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. Text 29. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Nata. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Arayama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. Order. Among the many celestials, Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, and is Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. This is also a planet of trees presided over by the Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants. Among them, Yama is the chief. Yama is situated in the planet near this earthly planet, and after death, those who are very sinful are taken there. Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. Yeah, you don't want to get on Yama's bad side. You want to be chanting Hare Krishna as much as possible. You see Yama coming, you better be crying out for Krishna. Text 30. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlada. Among subduers, I am Time. Among the beasts, I am the lion. And among the birds, I am Garuda, the feather carrier of Vishnu. Report. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The son of Diti are called Adityas, and the son of Diti are called Ityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. Of many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious. And of the millions varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of the Lord, Vishnu, is the greatest. It's interesting that my time, out in Alaska, spending time with some of the natives there, and spending different time with different Native Americans around the U.S. The American eagle, the eagle, is considered a very holy bird. Some say they carry messages to the Great Spirit. So it's interesting because the genetics show that the American Indians, Native Americans, came over from the east through Bering Strait. So it's almost like they still had a little bit of Vedic knowledge with them when they came. Because there's some things, the way they practice things and the way they see their spirit with everything is I find strikingly similar to the Vedic practices and what we believe. But it's interesting because a good friend of mine, we're out looking for, we go hiking all the time. And he was like half Blackfoot. And his entire thing was, to find an eagle feather out in the wilderness. That was like, his spiritual thing, a sign from, the Great Spirit. And, he had never found one out in the wild. And there was one day that we were out hiking, and we decided, take a break, and there was, clearing of trees, kind of circle of clearing of trees out in the distance, and we decided to take a break there and go sit over there. And as we approached this clearing, we started spotting feathers, a whole lot of feathers. It was an entire golden eagle that was killed by a mountain lion. You can see where the branches were broken in the tree. The mountain lion must have been in the tree where the eagle landed and got it. So now, we have this, entire golden eagle and all these golden eagle feathers. He was just beside himself. But as we were gathering up the feathers, you hear this.
Oh.
It's like, I believe I heard a kitten He's like, no, you're just paranoid. No, I'm serious. I heard a kitten. And then both of us heard it, and it was several kittens. And when we realized that there was a mama mountain lion somewhere nearby watching us, picking up her kill, and her cubs were right nearby.
Did you see them?
No, we never did see them. We didn't see the mountain lion, but we knew that we were probably in very much dangerous situation. Because, wildlife with their cubs, yeah, it's not a good thing, if you're near them. So we gathered up as many feathers as we could, and we kind of like stood back to back because mountain lion will attack you from behind. They conserve their energy. And they like to go in for the kill by going in and striking it at the back of the neck. So if you're running, that's the worst thing you can do, because they'll get you. They're very fast, very powerful. So we're back to back, walking our path back, throwing sticks and rocks, making a lot of noise, doing things, crazy, to deter the mountain lion from attacking us.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
This was before you came here?
Oh, this was some years before I came here.
Oh, okay.
We used to go out ghost hunting, in different, spots in Colorado there. Okay, text 31. Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wielders of weapons I am Brahma. Of the fishes I am the shark, and of the flowing rivers I am the Ganges. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus the shark represents Krishna, and of rivers, the greatest in India is the mother Ganges. Lord Ramachandra of the Ramayana is an incarnation of Krishna, is the mightiest of warriors. So as you can see, about anything that's considered greatest in the material world is a representation of Krishna. You're kind of getting the gist of it. Text 32. Of all creatures I am the beginning, and the end, and also the middle. O Arjuna, of all the sciences I am the spiritual science of the self, and among the logicians I am the conclusive truth. Purport. Among created manifestations, the total material elements are first created by Mahavishnu and are annihilated by Lord Shiva. Brahma is the secondary creator. All these created elements are different incarnations of material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. Regarding the spiritual science of the self, there are many literatures such as the four Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Gita. These are all representations of Krishna. Among logicians, there are different stages of argument. The presentation of evidence is called japa. The attempt to defeat one another is called Vedanta, Vitanda. And the final conclusion is called Vada. The conclusive truth, the end of all reasoning processes, is Krishna. Text 33. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compounds, I am the dual word. I am also an exhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Purport. Akara, the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of the Vedic literature. Without Akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit there are many compound words, of which the dual word like Rama, Krishna, is called
Dwandwa.
Dwandwa. That D messes with me. It's pronounced as a W. Dwandwa. For instance, Rama and Krishna have the same rhythm and therefore are called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is representative of Krishna because in due course of time there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the creators and living entities, Brahma is the chief. Various Brahmas exhibit 4, 8, 16, etc. heads accordingly. And there are the chief creators in the representative universe. The Brahmas are representatives of Krishna. Time kills everything. Now, there's interesting the concept of time. When you look at it in science, it's really intriguing. Because time is affected by gravitational pull. So it's like a black hole, you know. That if you're going in, you know, into a black hole, time slows down. Slows really, really slow. So the greater the gravitational pull, the slower time goes. So in science, I mean, this is experienced in modern day science with the satellites. They continually have to recalibrate the time on the satellites because they're away from the gravitational pull of the Earth. So they're actually in a faster time span than what we're experiencing here on Earth because we're closer to the center of gravity. Yes?
Is that why it's quicker to go by airplane to another place?
No, but just airplanes is much faster than a vehicle. But technically, you know, speaking scientifically, if you're living in a skyscraper, you would be aging faster, minutely faster, if you're living at the top of the skyscraper rather than the bottom floor. So actually, you know, sleeping on the floor, you have the best chance of aging slower. So yeah, time is really interesting when you look at when you look at the science of it, because time is relative in science, and it has gravitational pull has a lot to do with how fast time is working. So it's like how do you calculate time in outer space when you have different planetary systems and different gravitational pulls? So time on the moon would be totally different than the time that we're experiencing here on Earth. If you think about it, it's two different gravitational pulls. It's tricky. It always trips my mind out when I think about that. When I think about time. Time is one of those things that we can never buy back. We can't bring a single moment back. It's just always progressing forward. It's one of those strange things that when you're paying attention to time, it seems to go really slowly. But when you're not paying attention to time, it seems to move really fast.
Yeah.
Text 30, where was I? Text 34. I am all devouring death. I am the generator of all things yet to be. Among women I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. Purport. As soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. That death is Krishna. All species of life undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. The 6 opulences listed here are considered to be feminine. If a woman possesses all of them or some of them, she becomes glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. After studying, if one can remember the subject matter, he is gifted with good memory, or smriti. One need not read many books on different subject matters. The ability to remember a few and quote them when necessary is also another opulence.
Oh, Gurudev has a comment.
Oh, I'd like to hear Gurudev's comment, definitely.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We can hear you.
Okay. So, according to the Vedic culture, Vedic scriptures, material time is destroying everything in the material world. But material time does not exist in the spiritual world. There's a spiritual time there, and it doesn't destroy, but it maintains everything goes on forever. That's why it's called eternal time. Now, in the material world, time is calculated by the movements of the sun. The sun has a daily movement. It goes around the orbit around the Mount Meru. Mount Meru was mentioned earlier. It's the center of the universe, and the sun goes around going eastward, and it takes a full circle, 24 hours exactly, for it to complete one. That's called one day. That's how time is calculated. The sun is sometimes called the time maker because when you have all the different planets going in their orbits and the stars going in their orbits going together, the sun there's solar time and then there's lunar time and there's other types of time based on the stars. But basically, in our realm, we generally use either the sun or the moon time. So in the West, they use mostly the sun time. That's why they have birthdays on the same day, a celebration day. For example, if someone was born on November 1st, they would celebrate it on the November 1st the next year, because it's based on the solar time. But in the Vedic culture, if they're born on a certain day, it changes each year which day it is of the month, because the months are different and the moon is different time for its going around Meru. So we want to get free from material time. There's a verse, a beautiful verse that says, Hayar Haidati Vai Pungsam, Shana Soya Shana Pi, and then the rest. Every day, the sun rises and sets and is lost. The day is lost for everyone. But one who uses his time for hearing about the glories of Krishna, he doesn't lose any time because the sun doesn't take away his time span, because he doesn't have to spend time in the material world. After giving up this body, he'll be going back to the spiritual world, and he'll not be under the influence of material time. Thank you.
Text 35 of hymns. I am Brett Sama, sung in the Lord Indra, and of poetry I am the Gayatri verse, sung daily by the Brahmanas. Of months I am November and December, and the seasons I am the flower bearing spring. Purport. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, the Samaveda is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is the Birhat Sama, which is an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. In Sanskrit, there are definite rules and regulated poetry. Rhyme and meter are not written whimsically, as in much modern poetry. Amongst the regulated poetry, Gayatri mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri mantra is mentioned in the stream of Bhagavatam because Gayatri mantra is especially meant for God realization. It represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri mantra. Gayatri mantra is very important in Vedic civilization. It's considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahma. Brahma is the initiator and is passed down from him in disciplic succession. The months of November and December are considered to be the best of all months because in India, grains are collected from the fields at this time, and people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring, there are many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, as representation of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So, yes, throughout this chapter, we're seeing this opulence of Krishna. You know, the best of the best of things in this material world is what represents Krishna. Oh gosh, we still got 6 minutes to go. This chapter is just blowing my mind. Any questions or comments?
I thought it was. Can I make a comment? So, this is kind of a question and also a comment at the same time. But I like what Krishna was saying about women, how he is fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. So, in Shastra it says that the living entity is feminine. So does that mean that, does what Krishna is saying mean that when we become Krishna conscious that we acquire these qualities, at least some of them? Yeah.
So spiritually, we're all feminine. Spiritually speaking, Krishna is the one true masculine. So spiritually speaking, yeah, we're all gopis basically. So these qualities, from what I understand, do come. I'm not sure if Mirage has any comments on that. spiritually speaking, we're by spirit, we are all feminine spirits. You know, Krishna is the one masculine spirit. Because we're all submissive to Krishna. We're all the parts and parcels that are submissive to Krishna. So we have that feminine aspect. I think that's our time for today. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.